Hello everybody, welcome back to Educating Adventures. My name is Sarah and today we are going to be talking a little bit about energy. And I don't mean the energy that you use to turn on your lights or watch TV. I'm talking about the energy that living organisms need to survive. And we know animals need energy, we need energy. That's how we get out of bed and brush our teeth and play with our friends. But even organisms that are not animals still need energy. And I'm thinking specifically of plants. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today, how plants get their energy. So let's get into it. Energy is super important for all living things. We said for us, it's what allows us to get out of bed and play with our friends, but it's also what allows our bodies to do all the processes that they normally do, like our heart beating and digestion. That all needs energy. And we get our energy from our food. That's how animals get their energy, is from food, from eating stuff. So you could imagine for an animal like a deer, they might need energy to avoid predators, but for an animal like a tiger, they might need energy to chase after their prey, right? And they get all that energy from their food. But what about organisms who don't eat? Like most plants are not eating food, right? Where do they get their energy from? I'm going to give you guys just a moment here to pause the video and discuss as a group. If plants are not eating food, where do you think they're getting their energy from? Okay, are you ready? Plants get the energy that they need from the sun in a process that we call photosynthesis. And now, for photosynthesis to take place, plants do need more than just sunlight, but let's start with that. So when the sun shines down on a plant, usually it's the leaves and the stems of the plant that's going to be absorbing that sunlight, and they use something called chlorophyll to do that. Chlorophyll is a green pigment that absorbs sunlight. That is what gives leaves and some stems their green color. So they're absorbing sunlight, but they also need to take in water for photosynthesis, and usually that actually comes from the roots. Roots are going to be absorbing water out of the soil, and that water can travel to the rest of the plant. And then lastly, we need sunlight, we need water, and we also need something called carbon dioxide, which we call CO2 for short. And carbon dioxide is a gas that's in the atmosphere all around us all the time, and plants can absorb carbon dioxide through teeny tiny little holes on their leaves and their stems that we call stomata. And stomata are responsible for pulling in that carbon dioxide. Roots are responsible for pulling up the water, and chlorophyll is responsible for absorbing that sunlight. And we have all three of those things. Photosynthesis can take place. Photosynthesis is actually a series of chemical reactions that take place when we get those three things: sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide. Once the chemical reaction is done, it gives us something. It gives us, well, not us, it gives plants sugar, which we sometimes call glucose. And that's what plants use for energy. And this chemical reaction also produces oxygen. And I don't know about you guys, but I really like oxygen, right? We need oxygen to breathe. Pretty much every animal in the world needs oxygen to survive. So photosynthesis is very important. We're going to come back to that in just a moment. So through this chemical reaction that we call photosynthesis, plants get the energy they need and they produce oxygen. The more sunlight that's available to plants, the more often they can do photosynthesis. So when days are longer, like in the summer, we sometimes call that the growing season. There's more sunlight available, so plants can photosynthesize more and grow faster. One thing we didn't really say earlier when we introduced carbon dioxide, we did say that it was naturally occurring in the atmosphere, but it's also a greenhouse gas, which means the more of it there is in the atmosphere, it's going to trap heat near the Earth's surface, and it's going to give us something we call the greenhouse effect, which is not really good for the environment. And if you want to learn more about the greenhouse effect, be sure to check out our lesson on the greenhouse effect. But for now, all you really need to know is we don't want that much heat trapped near the Earth's surface. We create carbon dioxide when we use energy, when we turn on our lights and drive our cars. These greenhouse gases are bad for the environment. So that's where plants come in really handy, right? Because we just said they pull carbon dioxide out of the environment and they turn it into oxygen, which is a gas that all animals, all living things really need to survive. So environments that have a lot of plants, like forests, can turn a lot of carbon dioxide into oxygen. They pull a lot of CO2 out of the atmosphere. So we actually give them a fancy name because we love to give things in science fancy names. We call them carbon sinks. And basically that means they're removing a lot of carbon from the atmosphere. And that's why forests are so important, right? And today we cut down forests for all sorts of reasons, to build towns and cities, to change that environment into a farm. And so that is why we really need to work to protect forests, because their photosynthesis, the amount of photosynthesis that happens in forests, can really be beneficial in protecting our environment. All right, you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today while we learned a little bit about what photosynthesis is, how it happens, and why it is important for our environment. If you guys would like to have activities and quizzes and projects all about photosynthesis, be sure to check out our Educating Adventures website. The link is below, and we look forward to seeing you guys next time.